Todd and his wife spent $700,000 on a luxury motorhome that turned out to be defective from the factory. Todd has this to say to the dealer and the manufacturer.
Where's your part in this? I said, where's Tiffin's part in this? It's time for you guys to step up and help out here.
Hi, I'm Liz. I help people get their money back after buying defective RVs. Thanks to you, I've gotten over $2 million refunded to customers. I've been doing this RV consumer advocacy for over 2 years, and I have to tell you, today's case has me especially outraged. It's unbelievable to me in this price point all the things that Todd and his wife Deb have been through. I'll let Todd tell the story, and then I'll have Tiffin's response.
Before we retired, we owned our auto repair shop and truck shop for 36 years. We sold it to our son. We decided that we were going to buy an RV. We found one that we really liked. We liked the layout of it. We liked the looks of it. I did a little research on it. It seemed that it was a very, very reputable company, and we purchased it for almost $700,000. We purchased a 2025 Tiffin Zephyr. MSRP on the bus was $975,000 and some change. We purchased the bus from North Trail RV Center in Fort Myers, Florida. When we looked at the bus, it had 1,000 miles on it. Those miles were put on from the factory down to Fort Myers where the bus was delivered. A day or two before we took delivery of the bus, we went there and we found on the right front side that the slide was misadjusted and had rubbed through the paint on the right side, and they said that they would have that fixed before we picked the bus up. It also rubbed into a strip on the bus, which they had to fix. The day of delivery, they went through all the systems on the bus, and everything appeared to be working with the exception of the rear toilet. The rear toilet wouldn't flush, and it showed that it was full. And so they brought out their service tech. He spent an hour and a half, 2 hours, and he goofed around. They ended up putting a new module in the toilet. Assured me that the toilet was fixed and ready to go. We left the RV lot with it and made it about 5 miles down the road, and we had a warning light go off on the dash that said that we had a low tire. We pulled over, we checked it. There was no low tire. We made it about 2-3 miles farther down the road, and the camera system went down. When you're driving the bus, the camera system on, when you put the right turn signal on, the cameras on the right side of the bus come live so that you can see who's on the side of the bus. It helps greatly in a big bus like that. I called them out there at North Trail, and they said that they would send a camera module to our home in Wisconsin because we were just leaving Florida. The next day we traveled to Nashville, Tennessee with the bus. We got to a KOA campground. We went in, we got all hooked up. It was on a soft lot. It wasn't a concreted pad, so we didn't use the hydraulic levelers. We just used the air levelers on it. We got the slides out on it, got the bus all set up and ready to go. We went into the bus and found that there was only power in half of the bus. I made a phone call to the RV center, and they said to check the ground faults, which we did, and found that 4 of the 5 ground faults were blown in it. We reset them. Everything appeared to be up and working. Later that night, my wife decided to take a shower. And she said, "Todd, there's a problem. We've got no hot water." Well, I checked the kitchen sink. There was no hot water in the kitchen sink. I went to the bathroom. The bathroom sink had hot water. There's 2 bathroom sinks. One had hot water, one didn't. Come to find out that the hot and cold feeds on the faucets were reversed on 3 of the 5 faucets in the bus. So the shower, in order to get hot water, you had to turn it to cold. When she got out of the shower, she made the comment to me. She goes, "Be careful in the shower. The floor is extremely slippery." I went in and cleaned the floor, and it took glass cleaner to clean the floor, and the floor is like a corian. It is so slippery. If you get any soap, water from washing your hair on the floor, you can't stand up in it. We also noticed that while we were in Nashville with the bus, the front air conditioning wasn't working on the bus. It would turn on and it would blow air, but it wouldn't blow warm air or cold. You couldn't control the temperature on it at all. Next day we get up and we start traveling. When we left Nashville, we heard a rattling. We couldn't figure out what it was for a while, but I said the mirror on the right-hand side is hard to see out of. We pulled into a wayside, and I got out and started checking things, and here I find the mirror on the right-hand side of the bus is just about falling off. I could take and move the mirror 4 to 5 inches up there. Every time the wind would catch it, it would pull out on the side of the bus. And then when you would slow down, it'd swing the mirror back forward again. You know how important it is to have the mirrors? I said, the camera system's down on the bus, and so I can't see anything on the right side of the bus. We ended up spending a little over 2 hours. We went to a hardware store. The bolts that they put in it had fallen out. We got new bolts for it, bought some tools so that we could get it fixed. Back up on the road we were again. We were driving down the road. We had the one tire monitor light go on. We had a second one come on. We pulled over and checked the second one. As it turns out, there's 8 tire monitors on the bus. 5 of the 8 tire monitors went down on the trip between Florida and our home when we got back to Iowa with the bus. We get all the way to our destination in Iowa, and we pull into where we were going to keep the bus for the night at the marina, put the bus into neutral, set the air brakes on it, and all of a sudden all the alarms start going off on the dash. I looked and I'm like, what's going on? So I shut the bus off. I got out, looked around, nothing, no oil leaking under the bus, no antifreeze leaking under the bus. I opened the engine cover, checked the oil and the antifreeze, everything is full. I went back to the bus, started it back up, and all of a sudden the alarms and lights started flashing on the dash again and said, low oil pressure, stop engine. And then I looked down at the oil pressure gauge, and there was 0 oil pressure. We called the Freightliner dealer. Freightliner asked me if there was any oil pressure whatsoever, and I said, there's none right now. He goes, wait till morning, start the bus when it's cold. If the oil pressure gauge comes up at all, it's a 7 to 8 mile drive. He says, fire the bus up. Drive it out here. The next morning when I got up, I fired it up. There was 1 bar of oil pressure, and he told me to drive it out there. When I pulled into the lot at the Freightliner dealership, the alarms were going back off again, and we had 0 oil pressure. There was a bypass valve that went bad on it. The valve was supposed to close so that it would build oil pressure, and it didn't close. My son brought up, being that he's in that business, he goes, what kind of damage was done internally in that engine? He goes, that motor ran without oil pressure, and those motors are so crucial to oil pressure. If they lose oil pressure, that could be long-term damage on that motor down the road. He said it might be a year, might be 20,000 miles, but all of a sudden it spins an engine bearing, and he goes, now you're out $100,000 to put a motor in that. At the end, they retested it and said that the code is corrected and that the engine's fixed. And I asked him at that time, I said, is there long-term damage to it? And he goes, well, we don't know that. He goes, it was run without oil pressure. He goes, anything is possible. We get to the marina where we're going to keep it. We back it in on our cement pad. We put the air levelers down, put the slides out, and we're on concrete now. So it's the first time I put the hydraulic levelers down. It's having a hard time leveling the bus with the hydraulic levelers. Went out, checked everything to make sure there wasn't something caught under one of the levelers. When I got to the left rear corner of the bus, there's a big puddle of hydraulic fluid underneath it. When you looked at the cylinder, the pump was running and it was below the seal on the end of the cylinder was blown out, so the hydraulic fluid is running all over the ground. I made a phone call to Tiffin right away. Tiffin said, oh, it's just a seal. We'll send you a new cylinder for it. You'll have to crawl under the bus, give me the serial number off of the cylinder and the model number so that we can get you the right cylinder. I did exactly that. He said that they would send me the cylinder, which they did. About a week and a half later, we got the cylinder. He said to find a truck shop there and make arrangements with them to get it put on, and then that Tiffin would take care of that bill for the hydraulic part of it. We couldn't find a shop where we were that would lift the bus because of they had to take the wheels off the left rear corner of the bus. They didn't have anything heavy enough there to lift it. So we ended up taking it about 130 miles. We made a phone call to my son and said, is it possible that you guys get this in on the truck shop? And he said, no problem. And I made arrangements with Tiffin. At that time, they said to go ahead and get the other problems that we had repaired at the same shop at the same time. I asked my son Dylan, I said, approximately how long are you going to need the bus? He said, 3 to 4 days at max, we'll have it fixed for you. They went through and fixed the items on the bus. They put the new cylinder on. They put a camera module in it, which they had sent us. They repaired the toilet, which was still not flushing. They fixed the hot water and cold water lines that were crossed in the bus. They fixed the right front headlight assembly that was loose in the bus. There's approximately 8 screws around the outer bezel of the headlight that hold it in. They cut the cutout on the headlight so big that the bolts where they came through didn't have anything to bolt to. So what they did is they cut a couple of pieces of aluminum channel, I believe it was, and they ran them crossways so that they could try and tie the headlight into the bus. I've never seen anything like it before in my life. And they fixed the air conditioning unit, the first air conditioning on the top of the bus. The problem with it was there's a temperature sender on the front air conditioner, was never plugged in from the factory. My son called me after they had it for 2 days. And he said, Dad, he said, you need to come up and take a look at something. He goes, I've got a couple things I've got to show you on the bus. I get there and he took me to the right rear corner of the bus and he said, look under here at the axle seal. There's oil running right out of the axle tube on the right-hand side in the rear. He feels that needs to have a seal put in, needs to be put in, so that otherwise they're just going to burn the rear end up on the bus. Took me to the right front corner of the bus where they had just fixed the slide where the paint had rubbed through. It had rubbed through, and not only is it rubbed through now, but it's got a big gouge about 8 inches long in the side of the bus from the slide rubbing. When they repainted the slide and the side of the bus where it rubbed through from the factory, they never adjusted the slide. That was the easiest part of the whole job. It was a 10-minute job to adjust the slide, but they didn't do it. And so now we get to pay to have the bus repainted on the side and have the slide adjusted on it. And he said, did you notice the dimples in the front of the bus? In the front of the bus, there's two big round 12 to 14 inch diameter circles about 3/4 to an inch deep in the front of the bus. He goes, it looks like there's two eyeballs. He goes, I'm going to show you what they did. When they put the nose cone on the bus, they never adjusted it. So the hydraulics pulled the cover in from the generator, and it pulled so hard that it pulled the fiberglass in and started to crack. He said, that's not all. He said, now I'm going to show you something that's real serious. And he took me around to the left side of the bus, right behind the driver's seat. On the outside of the bus, he says, look up at the top of the bus. And I look up, and the side of the bus is bowed out about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. He goes, I think the frame is busted. It looks like the frame is pulling right through the side of the bus. He called Tiffin. They looked at the pictures, told my son on the phone. He goes, that bus has got to come back to the factory as soon as possible. He goes, they either missed a weld or a weld broke up there. And he said, the structure of the bus is not being held together up there. It even pulled out so far that the siding on the outside of the bus, the fiberglass on the outside of the bus, was bowed out, and it bent the metal strip that came down around the side. It was pulled out a good 1.5 inches to 2 inches.
You're probably sitting at home right now going, there is no way I want any part of these dumpster fires. I mean, after all, Todd spent $700,000 on his RV, and he's having major problems. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. 99% of the RV nightmares featured on this channel were made by the big three. I'm talking Thor, Forest River, and Winnebago. They represent over 100 brands and the vast majority of the RV market. I'm talking companies like Airstream, Grand Design, Jayco, Newmar, and yes, Tiffin are all owned by the big three. They didn't used to be this way, that the quality was so bad, and now it seems like that they are more interested in profits than people. However, I can tell you there are over 100 RV manufacturers out there that are independent. They're making good quality. Companies like Pleasureway, Oliver Travel Trailer, and Peak Mountain Camp. I had a camping neighbor who had a Peak Mountain Camp, and I toured it. Oh my goodness, that is a gorgeous travel trailer. Find out more in my RV Buyer's Guide, which reviews over 200 brands. This is broken down by years and models, what to avoid and what's recommended. As always, you want to take your time, do your research, and get an inspection when buying new or used. By the way, my RV Buyer's Guide is on sale for a limited time only at 25% off.
I called my salesman and expressed my interest to him what was going on with the bus, all the things that were wrong with the bus. He said, don't worry, Tiffin will take care of it. Everything will be fixed. He said, you've got to take the bus down to Alabama. And I said, this isn't my problem. This is your problem. You guys need to get this bus picked up. After a couple of go-arounds with them, they agreed to pick the bus up. They received it at Tiffin on September 15th. Tiffin on Monday morning, they sent me an email stating that I had to sign and release all responsibilities. If anything was stolen, it's not their responsibilities. If we have cameras on the bus, they have to be disabled. They're not responsible for anything on the bus. If it's in their care and custody, someone breaks into the bus, it's my problem, not theirs. And you had no choice but to sign it because of the fact they wouldn't touch the bus unless you did sign it. When I talked to the gentleman for the first time, I said, approximately how long is this going to take? He said, 4 to 5 days, we should have this thing wrapped up. It's pretty simple. I knew for a fact 4 to 5 days was an unreasonable number because they have to paint the side of the bus. As it turns out, they cut a hole in the side of the bus, and they're just going to fiberglass the hole back shut, which is totally unacceptable. When they first told me how they were going to repair the bus, they were going to remove the outside panels on the bus, repair the welds, and then put new panels on it and paint it. Never once did they tell me that they were going to cut a 2x2 hole in the side of the bus, weld it, and then patch this hole back shut. I don't understand how they can tell me one thing, do another, in exactly what they did. A year or two down the road, when that fiberglass cracks, splits, separates, we have the delaminating from the layers coming out. I said to them, who's going to be responsible for that? And they said, well, if we have that problem, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And I said, no, it's not acceptable. The bus needs to be fixed correctly. And I said, what did they find up in there? And he said that they MIG-tacked it together. He goes, it was just a spot weld on it to hold it while it was in the jig. And he goes, they never came back and welded it shut. He goes, there was one little weld in the corner. And he said the rest of it was never welded. And that's the reason the bus pulled apart. I said, did you check the back weld at the same time? You've got the front one cut apart. Are you going to check the back one also? Because we had concerns that my son had showed me where it was bowed out at least a 1/2 inch back there also. And he said, nope. He goes, I don't see a problem with that back there. I said, well, if they didn't weld the one, how sure are we welded the one on the back? He goes, it's under warranty. We'll address that issue when it happens. I said, well, the bus is here. You've got the side opened up on the bus. Why wouldn't you take a look at it right now and fix it? Rather than making me bring it back, putting the miles on the bus, that's just unacceptable. That's no way to fix something. And that's how they planned on doing it. I just don't get it. I said, what's the time frame on it? He goes, well, they've got the axle seal done. It's in the frame shop now. We've got to finish the welding on the frame. Then it goes to the body shop. He goes, I'll keep you posted daily. Never heard from him. In the time that it's been there, I've heard from him, I believe, 3 times, and that's because I've called them and initiated the phone call. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what the bus, where it was even. I called my dealer. I said, this is totally unacceptable. They told me what they were going to do. They didn't do what they told me they were going to do. They cut holes in the side of the bus when they told me they were going to remove the side of the bus and fix it and put it back on and repaint it. He goes, what do you want? And I said, I want a different bus. They made me an offer on the bus to trade me out of the bus. They brought in a new 26 bus, the exact same bus as ours, and they had us look at it. I got to honestly say the workmanship on the bus is definitely better than ours, but after looking at the sides of the bus, not impressed. They told me they would trade me out of my bus and that Tiffin was going to be involved in it and that they would make sure that it was right with me. I said, well, let me know what the number is going to be. He goes, how does $225,000 in your old bus? You're telling me that I bought a bus from you, paid $700,000, and I've got a bus that's defective, and for me to get this problem corrected, it's going to cost me another $225,000? Where's your part in this? I said, where's Tiffin's part in this? It's time for you guys to step up and help out here. I don't feel that I should be stuck for $225,000. Granted, the bus was a year newer, and I was willing to pay the difference between a 25 and a 26, but not $225,000. The way I judge that is I went from a 25 to a 24, it's under $40,000. And I figured, so if we went from a 25 to a 26, a $40,000 difference, I would be willing to pay that. I think that was a fair amount. I think that they were going to take our bus, sell it as a used bus, and I was going to pay for that. And I don't think that that's fair. I've had 2 calls from the general manager of North Trail, and he thinks it's a fair deal for me to pay the $225,000. And I just said to him, I said, that's not happening. We can't take the bus anyplace. We haven't got a bus. I hope that I'm not the only one that, I hope I am the only one that's having this problem, because I'll tell you what, you can't run a business like that. This is going to hurt. I mean, it's hurting me because I had good faith going into here, wanting to buy this bus, and I did. I went in there in good faith purchasing this bus and spent my hard-earned money to get nothing but grief and problems. We've had to cancel our fall trips that we had planned for it. This was supposed to be a time after retirement. We bought this thing thinking we're gonna have some fun with this. We're gonna do some traveling with it. As it turns out, we've had nothing but headaches with this thing. It's been a pain, to say the least. It's not like it's one small thing. The things that have went wrong with this bus are major problems, from the loss of oil pressure to the broken frame to the side of the bus being bowed out to the delamination of the side of the bus. Replace the nose cone, blown hydraulic cylinder on it. I mean, where does it end? The miles on the bus are another thing. We put maybe 17 to 1,800 miles, under 2,000 miles on this bus. It's got 4,500 miles on it. They put the balance of the miles on this thing, traveling back and forth from the factory. I just know that I'm really disappointed with it. I think Tiffin should step up and get this matter resolved, and I think North Trail should be involved in it also. I would suggest anyone in the future buying any type of RV, whether it's a pull behind, a Class C, a Class A, anything, make sure you get an inspection. There's companies out there that will come and do the inspections. If I would have had an inspection done on this bus before I purchased it, I guarantee I wouldn't have bought the bus, because they'd have caught probably 2/3 of these problems. And this made it through Tiffin's Quality Control Center. They've had the bus, as of today, 6 weeks. As far as getting the bus back, we don't know when we're going to get the bus back. They told me that the nose cone was not repairable, that they had to replace the nose cone on the bus. They said that was at least 5 to 6 weeks out, and then it had to go to the paint shop and be painted, which would be a week to a week and a half, and then it would be 3 to 4 days in the cleanup shop. I don't trust that the repair that they did on the bus, the patch job, is acceptable. And paying the money that we paid for this bus, I don't think it's right that that's how you fix the bus. We've owned the bus for just about 5 months, and it's been in the shop at least 3 months. I called the dealer to express my frustrations with the motorhome more than once. After they offered me the bus for the $225,000 trade, I said, not acceptable. I just want my money back. And I've expressed that to them at least 5 to 6 times. And now they don't call back. They don't answer anything. I think Tiffin should buy the bus back from me. I think that they should purchase the bus back from me and let me go on my way. My wife and I will decide if we want to buy another bus. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I tell you, it's giving me real ill feelings with the motorhome industry right now. And I don't think they're all that way, but I tell you what, Tiffin's got some issues. They need to fix them.
I reached out to the dealership. That would be North Trail RV in Fort Myers, Florida. I heard back that they are in communication with Todd and Deb and are working with them. But actually, Todd reports that no, they have not heard from the dealer. I also reached out to Thor, which owns Tiffin, as you know, and I heard from Lee Tiffin. He responded right away to my email that thank you so much for calling this to his attention. They are going to work directly with the customers. Okay, I have a late breaking update for you. Tiffin service called Todd and they said the motorhome's done, it's all ready. They wanted to know what address to deliver it to. And Todd said no, he doesn't want it back, he wants a buyback. So now he's in negotiations with Tiffin. So I want to point out that I did a video about a Tiffin Zephyr a year ago. And if you're a longtime viewer, you know that. I covered Paul and Danny's case. There actually were some similarities. Their hot and cold water was also switched and their shower floor was also slippery. Now, in their case, it took the video coming out before Tiffin responded, and Tiffin did end up buying back their RV. So now this is your opportunity to do the same thing, to push this video out there by sharing it, liking, subscribing, and all that, because this will help Todd and Deb. The more people that see the video, the more pressure on Tiffin to do the right thing. And let me know what you think about this whole thing. What do you think about buying a $700,000 product that has so many problems? What do you think Tiffin should do overall to prevent these kind of situations from happening ever again? Just let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I will keep you posted on this case. And I will see you in the next video.